Welcome to Solar Energy, the route to net zero, a programme collaboration between Solar Energy UK and ITN Productions. In the past decade, solar energy has come a long way. It's reliable and energy efficient and is popular with the public. By 2030, experts predict that technology improvements will treble capacity of electricity coming from solar and will be a major source of energy worldwide. In this programme, we'll highlight some of the vital work taking place to contribute to the net zero ambition. I'm delighted to welcome to the studio today the Chief Executive of Solar Energy UK, Chris Hewitt. Chris, welcome. What's the solar energy industry in the UK achieved so far?
10 years ago, there was no solar energy in the UK, or a very small amount. In 10 years, it's grown to delivering almost 5% of UK's power output. It did that with a number of subsidy supports, but since 2019, there's been no subsidy from government at all, and the industry's continued to grow. So now 10% of that capacity, which is 14.5 gigawatts, has been delivered with no government support whatsoever. And it's actually expanded its growth throughout the pandemic.
What role now would you say solar energy has to play in our path towards net zero, certainly in the next decade at least?
Solar's going to have a huge part in the story for net zero in the next decade and beyond. We expect the industry to triple its capacity in the next 10 years, so that will be around 10-15% of all UK power output from solar. Our business as usual scenarios are saying we definitely are on track to double. With a few policy changes, modest ones, we believe we can treble it. That would create 13,000 new jobs in the UK. It would create £17 billion worth of economic value. And it would, because whenever solar is on the grid, it displaces gas power, it actually will reduce our emissions by 4.7% in the decade.
Are the policy and market conditions right now for solar parks in the UK, and what sort of benefits are there to them?
Solar parks are now the cheapest form of electricity generation in the country, bar none, and that's already stimulating a lot of investment and project development. We're seeing government auctions allowing a route to market for those parks, but and we'll need to see more of those for the following decade. And we're also seeing businesses and public authorities buying that power directly as well. So there'll be many ways to earn money, if you like, and to generate power and profits from those parks. As well as the carbon benefits, we're also seeing biodiversity benefits. So because there's no pesticide use, there's no fertilizer use on that land, we're actually seeing a doubling of biodiversity on some of those parks now.
Well, that's fantastic news, isn't it? What about the public sector and also businesses? What can they do to really take advantage of solar on their own premises?
So any company that has a large roof or some spare land, like a car park, for instance, it's ripe for generating solar on your own premises. The payback for that now is around about 5 years, and obviously the price of gas, the price of electricity is driving down that payback ever more. So we're seeing water industry, we're seeing the MOD, we're seeing logistics parks, retail centres, all starting to put solar on their roofs.
And what can you and I do, what can we all do at our own homes to really harness solar power?
Again, a huge advantage of solar is it's something you can do in your own home, on your own roof. The costs, again, have fallen hugely, so it's now between £4,000 and £5,000 on average for an installation, and you'll save at least £300 on your bill each year. What we're also seeing is if you include electric vehicle charging, if you have a battery, you can start to save some of that power and use it for other uses, so you'll see more savings in the future. One piece of research we've just completed is looking at the impact of that on the value of the property itself. So a value of a property with solar on the roof will be £2,000 more than the equivalent home without solar on. So there's multiple reasons to do that. But the main reason really is it's something that you can do. If you have that capital and you want to do something for climate change, this is one thing you can do.
OK, some good advice there, Chris Hewitt. Many thanks for joining us. Thank you. The technology behind solar power has now evolved to become a viable leader in renewable energy. Not only is it now profitable, but it's also one of the most powerful tools towards our goal of a net zero future. And Solar X Power, normally known for its power systems in homes and businesses, has been driving the charge into new areas.
At this leading motorsports company in Worcestershire, they design, build and race cars in championships both in the UK and around the world.
And here, in such a carbon-intensive sport, they're actively looking for ways to reduce their footprint, not just in the technology they use, but also in the facilities where they work.
Quite some time ago, we started on a mission to become more energy efficient, and we realised we just need to make a change and start contributing to the bigger picture and playing our part. First of all, we started off with a 50 kilowatt solar array, so that's around 260 panels on the roof, and they generate in excess of 40 kilowatts all day, every day, in good weather. And I suppose we then started thinking, well, we're not using all of that, it's going back to the grid. So we started thinking, well, how do we harness that?
The solution was battery storage. These inverters and batteries from SolarX Power capture the excess energy generated by the solar panels and stores it on site for use whenever it's needed. And by doing so, it reduces the need for feed-in power from the grid at other times. A win-win for both the company and the environment.
It's definitely a win for our commercial and domestic users who at the end of every quarter will look at their utility bills and see considerable savings. And it's a win for the environment simply because the technology that we offer allows the clean green energy to be stored in the batteries and used even when the sun's not shining. And that's obviously going to play a big part in our aim to reducing our carbon footprint and achieving our climate change goals.
And keeping track of the energy generation and storage on site is made all the easier by having online tools and a phone app to monitor real-time data and savings.
That's where we're winning, and this is a little tentative footsteps into it, but we plan to increase the storage as we go forward. Now we understand it, and now we're getting used to it, so we're really seeing benefits from absolutely day one of installing it. It was remarkable.
Here, energy bills have been slashed in half since the batteries were installed, but the technology can also save money for customers who don't have solar panels by giving them flexibility in when they buy and use electricity.
If the end user doesn't have solar panels, it's still possible to draw energy from the grid at a time when energy is particularly cheap. Overnight, for example, energy can be very, very cheap or even in some cases free. That energy falls into the batteries, which effectively is a reservoir of energy, and that energy then can be drawn on throughout the day when prices are typically much, much higher.
The drivers will have to decide when to deploy that electric power.
Next year, there are plans to race hybrid cars assembled here. It's all part of the desire for greener solutions in the workshop, which also make good business sense.
Ultimately, everything we do to this building adds an asset value in, because I believe as we move forwards, people will look to buy premises, whether commercial or residential, that have some good, solid green credentials about them, which A, save them money, and B, help reduce their carbon footprint.
With battery technology, solar makes sense. It's not only profitable for business, but a powerful tool in the fight against climate change.
When the sun shines, solar energy is created. But what happens when there's no sun? Centrica, an energy services and solutions company, is working with clients to help them decarbonise and to reach their net zero goals, as well as looking into solar storage solutions for the future.
This recently opened solar farm at the Defence School of Transport in East Yorkshire took just 12 weeks to build, but will influence defence estate thinking for years to come. This collaboration with Centrica is the Army's first solar farm project, an important first step towards its net zero carbon future.
So here we have the isolator for the system.
It's been a pleasure working with them, to be honest. The Army's committed to 76 solar sites nationally. We're a hugely diverse estate. We have offices, commercial, domestic, all sorts of different sorts of uses for our infrastructure nationally. So we need to have a national footprint when it comes to energy generation and decarbonisation. We've tried to be very much a fast follower in the Army with technologies that are proven, and this is an example of that. So yeah, it's very much part of the energy mix.
As well as power for the School of Transport, the panels feed the national grid with the kind of clean green electricity reaching net zero will depend on.
I think this is a really fantastic site. It's a great example of how the public sector can show real leadership in the transition to net zero, to decarbonise. We're working with hospitals, we're working with schools, we're working with universities, as well as many industrial companies, to do something very similar to what's happened here, so we can go after the much bigger volumes that we need to hit our net zero targets.
But increasing reliance on renewables means finding new ways to store energy, so the lights stay on when the sun isn't shining.
And most of that storage is coming through battery at the moment, but it's not just batteries. We think hydrogen also has an important role to play in that form of power storage. And we think when there's too much power on the grid, once we have the ability to store that hydrogen, we can convert that renewable power into hydrogen and then to be used for transport, for heating or power generation.
For the last 35 years, the Easington gas terminal has connected the East Yorkshire coast to the UK's largest gas storage site, known as the Rough Reservoir. Harnessing existing skills and infrastructure, Centrica wants to convert it into the UK's biggest hydrogen depository. The project would be a world first.
We'll take gas from the grid and then we'll inject it 18 miles offshore to the Rough Reservoir, which sits 3 kilometres below the seabed. And then when we're ready to take gas back out of the store, we reverse that process, bring gas back from the offshore reservoir through a pipeline, back through our terminal and back onto the national grid. All of the independent analysis show that the scale of hydrogen storage will be 12 to potentially 51 terawatt hours. Rough can provide 9 terawatt hours of that.
And to provide some context, that 9 terawatt hours storage capacity is enough to heat 1 million homes for up to a year. But investment on this scale will require government support. And with decommissioning decisions having to be made soon, the clock is already ticking.
It will cost hundreds of millions of pounds more to decommission first, then redevelop the asset. So we have a shovel-ready project here that can help level up in the area. We can create thousands of jobs during the construction period and potentially 300 to 400 high-quality, long-term jobs at the operation.
This infrastructure has been around for 35 years, so there's a skill set within this organisation that you can't lose, and you'll need that for the transition and continued storage of hydrogen.
And is there excitement about the potential of this project?
Yeah, in the local area there is, and within this business, yeah.
I think to be renewable is no longer something that you can be, I think it's something that we have to be. But I think as Centrica, because we've got the ability to work with our corporate customers and with residential customers and public sector, we can help them through the renewable transition to install panels like this on their sites. But also we're looking to long-term solutions for hydrogen because we think that's going to play an exciting and important part in the energy system.
The thing about decarbonisation is that we are networked with everyone else, whether it's locally or globally, and we're very interested in finding out what the future is going to look like so we can be committed as a fast follower into the future.
Voltalia produces and sells electricity generated from solar projects, which it owns and operates. They are also a service provider and support their clients in renewable energy projects during all phases, from design to operation and maintenance. I'm here now with Simon Holt, UK Country Manager of Voltalia. Simon, welcome. Some would say that solar power is expensive. It's not necessarily a good investment, considering we don't get much sun here in the UK. What's your response to that?
Well, there are already hundreds of projects across the UK generating solar power and feeding that electricity back into our grid for users. And that's reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. So solar in the UK is deployable, it's affordable, and we'll see more and more projects take shape in coming years. If we're going to hit our net zero targets, we need to at least triple the amount of solar energy here in the UK.
How does solar energy help the community?
Well, solar energy is directly benefiting organisations that are looking to derive power from green energy sources. But actually, when we're building our projects, it's local trades and businesses here in the UK which can actually benefit. They're supplying services, goods, and skills to our projects as we build them. And we're very proud of our South Farm Solar Park in Dorset, where we're actually bringing in really local talent, local businesses to help construct that project. We spent over £5 million in the region and committed to the trades around that area of that project. And I'm very proud that we've actually brought in local skilled staff to work as staff on Voltalia's team, and we've trained them up and they're helping us with the project construction. So actually we want to continue developing local skills, local talent around our projects.
You've alluded to it there. How does Voltalia support businesses?
More and more businesses are switching onto the idea of supplying electricity from net zero carbon electricity sources. So Voltalia and organisations like us are arranging direct power purchase agreements with organisations that want to secure electricity supply from renewables. A great example of that is the City of London Corporation, and they wanted to meet their net zero commitment 10 years earlier than the government by 2040. So Voltalia are working with the City of London Corporation. We're building a project and will supply over half of their electricity. And from a City of London's point of view, the benefit is a renewable source of energy to hit net zero targets. It reduces their exposure to price volatility. And also it's a good commercial package. And over the course of that arrangement, they're expecting to save over £3 million.
What are your hopes for the future at Voltalia?
Well, more and more companies and organisations will transition to deriving their electricity from low-carbon sources like solar power. So Voltalia is already committed to growing our portfolio to 2.6 gigawatts in the next 2 years. And we want to work with organisations that are on that journey to transition to a net zero future.
OK, Simon Holt, many thanks for joining us. Thank you. Solar is already making a big contribution to UK carbon reduction in electricity generation, but it can also help us to cut carbon from transport and heat. In this report, we look at how solar is charging electric vehicles and helping businesses and homeowners to achieve the net zero ambition as well.
The future of motoring, as everyone knows, is electric. The cars are already here and on our roads, but the infrastructure to support them, well, that is coming. Pull into GridServe's electric forecourt in Essex, however, and you're getting a taste of what's around the corner and how solar is powering the revolution.
We're delivering a whole new energy ecosystem, which we call sun to wheel. Instead of oil wells and refineries and pipelines and petrol forecourts and combustion engine cars, we're building a net zero equivalent of that.
Toddington Harper is GridServe's founder and CEO.
All of the energy that people use at GridServe infrastructure in the UK is either zero carbon or net zero carbon, and we deliver that because of solar energy.
GridServe's forecourt in Braintree has been built entirely for electric vehicle drivers and their needs. 36 charging points, powered by a solar panel roof and a solar farm up the road. At 350 kilowatts, your car will charge as fast as it's capable, and while it's doing that, you can head inside to relax.
And I'll just get coffee and chill, and then it'll be done by the time I finish my coffee. So I actually wish I had more time here to sit here and enjoy the amenities, but no, it's really good. I do like it.
Customers like the solar power too.
I think knowing that probably gives me a level of feeling slightly better about it as well than knowing that it is a net zero place, because the company I work for is the same. We try to do that as well and offset. So, you know, for me, ethically, yeah, it is important. Yeah.
Of course, solar has been powering other things for many years. There are already 1 million homes in the UK using solar power, and with changes to building standards and the move away from gas central heating, new homes from 2030 are likely to be smart solar homes.
Well, solar power really is an enabling technology. It enables electric vehicles, for example, to have a cleaner footprint, just like it enables heat pumps in properties to be carbon neutral. So I think the exciting thing about solar is that when it's integrated from the start, it really creates a sustainable solution.
Solar Energy UK's Lighting the Way report explains how to speed up clean energy production to meet our net zero goals.
With an ambitious government, experts, including the Climate Change Committee, expect solar combined with wind to be able to provide up to 90% of the UK's electricity needs by 2035. That's huge.
Stopping catastrophic climate change is in our power, says Tonington.
Personally, I absolutely believe that humans have got the ability to fix this.
And he's urging action from world leaders meeting at COP26.
There's no downside. There's no downside. Humanity carries on. It's great. Clean energy is awesome. Clean air is lovely. Electric vehicles are absolutely fantastic. And there's absolutely nothing to lose, but there's so much to gain. And all we need to do is just say, let's just make the decision, let's get on with it, and let's not do it tomorrow, let's do it today. In fact, what am I doing in the next 5 minutes?
It's been said previously that solar has been the enigma of the energy sector, clunky, expensive and reliant on government subsidies to become operational. Now, using their expertise in digital information technology, as well as significant investment in research and development, Huawei says that image is a thing of the past. We went to find out why.
As a successful global technology company, Huawei is clear that its success depends on innovation, and innovation that translates into marketable products. That's why up to 15% of its annual revenue, which last year amounted to $136 billion, goes into research and development. Just over half of its 190,000 employees are recruited straight into R&D. And now much of that effort is focused on the renewable energy sector.
We will agree that power is the future, and we understand clearly that we see already commitments from the governments towards net zero. So 2050, for example, UK need to be net zero. So we need to contribute towards that. So how we can contribute? We need to deliver these kind of products to support this kind of markets. So for Huawei, we already set our target clear. Digital power is the future of our planet and ourselves, and we will be investing heavily into this.
Solar energy is the most abundant renewable energy source in the world. But the challenge for scientists is to find the most efficient way of converting more of the sun's rays to electricity without making the technology too expensive. One outcome of the massive R&D drive has been smaller, more efficient solar power inverters. Huawei says these will help to create a future-proof smart PV generator.
If we go back to the 90s, solar was considered very inefficient, heavily reliant on subsidies from the governments, but this actually changed over the years. And there was a small technology changes which led to this, for example, changing to be solar competitive to other energy sources, and to be talking nowadays in 2021 about solar being the future and being main energy source in future.
Huawei R&D has also developed an arc fault circuit interrupter feature that reduces what's known to be the biggest safety risk in the photovoltaic sector, sparks and fire. It all adds up to a compelling package for businesses and householders alike.
Post-subsidy, what we're hearing from our customers is that being able to reduce your energy costs is certainly key as a motivation to implementing solar technology. That's been brought into spotlight very recently, of course, with the hike in energy prices, and certainly that looks as though it will be with us for some time. And even when things settle down, potentially there's going to be volatility in electricity and gas prices. So consumers and companies want to be in more control of their costs, to have more predictable costs for their homes and their businesses moving forward.
Safety and the arcing hazard also provided an entry point for one of Huawei's newest commercial partners. In particular, it was Huawei's new Fusion solar products that impressed FutureLex CEO, with an eye on the Part L regulations that will cut emissions in new builds by a third from 2022.
So the Fusion solar products that we're talking about now, is unique due to its arc protection fault system. It's not really known massively in our sector at the moment, which we're working on closely together over the next 3 to 6 months to make sure everybody's aware of the benefits of Fusion Solar. But with its unique arc detection fault, being able to take a voltage all the way down to 0 volts at roof level, it's able to recognise an arc fault within 0.5 seconds. So it's a great product, and it really mitigates the risk of DC arcing.
Huawei may be best known as a telecoms company, but it has actually been in the energy business for years. And that is where a major part of its future now lies, generating green jobs and green energy to help secure a sustainable future for the planet.
As the world shifts towards renewable energy sources to fuel the future, investment in solar power has never been more key to provide a viable source of clean energy. Next Energy Capital Group, a global renewables fund manager, is behind the UK's largest solar farm ever constructed and energised. It's called Llanwern. It's in Wales. And the specialist fund manager says it's about supporting the unique biodiversity around it. We went there to find out more.
To get a true sense of Llanwern's size, you've got to go up. 3 fields of solar panels spread across the Gwent levels, a wetland landscape bordering the Severn Estuary in south-east Wales.
It's a 75 megawatt solar farm. It's the largest operational solar farm in the country. It's particularly interesting because it's strategically important for the UK's net zero ambitions. It's the first solar farm at this scale to be built without subsidy.
The power generated here isn't just green, it's competitive. Solar is now cheaper in the UK than power from fossil fuels. Solar farms offer more than this, though. At first glance, they may seem unnatural, but look closer and the land they occupy is healing.
Solar is very unique in its ability to protect and enhance biodiversity. It's a section of land, 200 acres in this case, which is fenced off from general traffic, taken out of the agricultural intensive farming cycle, and then maintained with low traffic over a long horizon. And that means you can really do impressive things with biodiversity.
That's certainly the case at Llanwern. Bird and bat boxes, crossing bridges for cranes, wildflower meadows. The waterways called reens are being cared for, and land is being set aside so lapwings can nest. The force behind Llanwern is Next Energy Capital.
We have 3 business units. We do green and brownfield asset development. We have an operating asset management business. And lastly, we raise institutional capital to acquire solar projects across the globe.
CEO and founder Michael Bonte-Friedheim explains what sets them apart.
As a solar specialist, you will not find anyone that is active across the 3 business areas that we are active in. We have a team of 200 people. We are spread across regions, and we have solar assets across the continents, from Portugal to the US, to Chile, to India, Poland, Italy, the UK, and Spain. We are active in all those markets. And with 15 years experience in the solar sector, we have a base of expertise that no one else can even come close to.
It's this specialism, says Next Energy Capital's head of investor relations, that investors are seeking.
I think when an investor wants to invest into solar, they really want to look for an experienced manager in that. There's a lot of other fund managers that might have had a different strategy before and have started investing into wind or solar, etc., but they just don't have the track record that we have.
Next Energy Capital believes this expertise helps position their clients at the vanguard of a sector that's growing fast.
We believe that solar, being the highest growth sector within renewable energy, represents very attractive growth opportunities. Now, solar is estimated to account for roughly 40% of power generation by 2050 up from about 4% today. And so you can see that there is very significant incremental investment required in this sector to achieve that estimated outcome. We want to be part of that revolution. We want to contribute to that growth.
Next Energy Capital also puts environment, social and governance at the heart of everything it does.
We can look at the funds that we've done since 2014, but we can also look back and show investors what we did before 2014 and show investors the assets that we invested into back then. So I think that provides a lot of comfort, and importantly so for investors. ESG and impact investing is very, very important for investors at the moment. Obviously we are taking the E in ESG, there's no problem there, but the fact that we look at the S and the G and take that so seriously as well, and we've a dedicated team for that and also got a very good track record.
Julia Guidi leads that specialist ESG team.
We start from selecting sites based on the biodiversity value, for example, as well as presence of any cultural heritage that we want to preserve. Then we continue to make sure that we perform our surveys and assessments to identify environmental and social issues upfront, and then we can discuss potential mitigation plans ahead of each investment.
It's an approach that should reap big rewards for the investors powering the solar energy revolution and for all of us relying on a net zero future to combat climate change.
Thank you for watching Solar Energy, the route to net zero. All of the content is now available on the Solar Energy UK website. The details are on the screen now. From me and all of the team here, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.